By now, we're familiar with Jalen Brunson's game. He's got one of the best floaters in the business, his mid-range pull-ups are also elite, and he's at a career high in three-point field goal percentage, leading the Knicks to a top 10 offense and bringing hope to Madison Square Garden for the first time in a long while. But he's doing something else I've noticed, something that's both modern and a throwback at the same time, and it's time to let everyone here know how Jalen Brunson is revolutionizing the game. As one of the shortest players in the league, it's no surprise that Brunson has to use all manner of subtle jabs, fakes, and quick releases just to get his shot off in the lane. The fact he gets them to go in as often as he does is even more remarkable for us fellow 6-footers. But what's unusual about his game is how often he posts up around the basket. But I don't mean straight post-ups where he catches the ball with his back to the basket, then faces up before spinning and splitting and half-hooking it in. You can find a couple of these types of plays when he feels he has a bit of a size advantage before turning him into blow-bys when he faces up and uses the jab step before keeping his body in between the ball and the defender for the inside hand layup. And you can also find him dribbling the ball up the court exclusively on the right side and right into a back down post-up. It seems like he targets skinnier players for this type of attack, where he can use his stout shoulders to bang into the defender before stepping by for hooks across the lane. I'm sure he prefers this side because he can use his dominant left hand to attack into the middle of the lane, where he does get away with a hook with that right arm and flipping it up before the help can react. With nearly 12 inches of height advantage, you wouldn't think Franz Wagner would be a target for JB, and he tries to use that right shoulder but senses enough space to use his quickness to jump stop into a hook before Wagner can block it. And Keontae George got a taste of that battering ram before he steps through with a little push shot over the front of the rim. Brunson will also turn pick and rolls into his own personal post-up shop. The Knicks force the switch so he can go to work on another little guy in TJ McConnell. Notice it's the right side of the floor again before he backs him down. The Knicks offense isn't spaced all that well, primarily because they don't always have enough shooters around Brunson, but he just turns around daring the defense to block the shot. Another ball screen at the right wing gets the switch they want so they can attack Austin Reeves. They give him the entire right side of the floor to work with, and maybe the Lakers didn't get the memo, but they don't send help, so Brunson hops into a twisting jump hook. You might be sensing a pattern here. Everything is going to his right, and while he can't gain an advantage from the Jericho Sims screen, he instantly puts KCP into the blender. Quick tip, if you allow Brunson into the middle with his left hand, he will keep that right shoulder connected to ward you off and then quick release the one-handed jump hook into the hoop. Another move I really like is the fake handoff, something Brunson has been using more and more, and it flows right into his post-up game as he gets his body into the defender, turning his back to the basket, getting the separation, then hitting the turnaround jumper. Teams are catching on to the fake handoff a little, so he doesn't always gain the advantage, but the Knicks use it to clear out that right side so he can once again go to work on Reeves. He initiates a lot of contact, making defenders worried about fouling, and Brunson uses this to his advantage as Austin just puts his arms up hoping the whistle doesn't blow, and Brunson flips it in over him. But that's not how he's really revolutionizing the game. It's when he drives from the perimeter, gets cut off, and then turns it into a post-up. Most guards would just pass the ball out or dribble it back out if they couldn't get to the rim. But Brunson recognizes that being in the lane is an advantage he shouldn't so easily give up. And this is why Synergy isn't charting his game accurately. These are not pull-up jumpers or just delayed finishing moves off of drives. He is clearly using his back to the basket as a way to generate shots exactly like traditional post-up plays. I found over 50 made field goals like this, and yet Synergy only has him at 50 post-ups total. And if you focus on the footwork, you'll quickly realize he's turned these drives into low post moves in a hybrid that certainly more guards should utilize. You might hear the phrase playing off 2 feet and wonder what it means, and Brunson is the poster child for it. It's really a concept that needs to be seen in person to fully comprehend how important it is, and that's where SeatGeek comes in. It's the best app for finding tickets to any concert, sporting event, or the theater, and I use it all the time for years and years. In fact, I just went to Las Vegas to see U2 play in the Sphere, and I used SeatGeek to make sure I was getting the best deal on tickets. It was so easy to get the tickets transferred to me, they're guaranteed, and I had an absolute blast with some of the most stunning visuals ever seen at a rock concert. So, use my new code BBALL10 and save 10% off of any tickets you get for a limited time. Click on the link below, use my code BBALL10 and get some Knicks playoff tickets so you can fully appreciate the two-footed finishes Brunson has parlayed into over 28 points a game. He is ruthlessly consistent with how he scores in the paint, and pay attention to how he uses a jump stop into turnaround fadeaway. Again, these all come off of drives to the basket that get cut off, so he'll pound dribble, split his feet into a jump stop, then usually turn over his left shoulder for better alignment and a slight fade for more separation. Or he'll float the dribble as he gets into the body of the defender, then gather it at the same time as he jump stops before turning over that left shoulder, a little fade for space, and then drop it clean through. You can just about sit on that left shoulder knowing that he clearly prefers going in that direction with the turnaround fadeaway. But it's his physicality and intent to create contact that makes this move so effective, since players do not want to foul him in the act of shooting. However, turning over that left shoulder is effective because he will turn the other way just enough to keep the defense honest and guessing. It's usually accompanied by a jab step fake with his back to the basket, selling the shot in that direction and getting the defender to step that way, opening up the spin the other way for an open midi. But there's a reason he's so hard to guard. He can show you a shot in any direction, but then with a burst of quickness go the other way. After making contact, he protects the ball with his back to the basket, jabs the right foot to fake the right shoulder turn, and then fades slightly with more arc to drop it straight through the net. He doesn't always land on both feet at the same time, however. Here, he uses the staggered stop to let Sohan fly by before utilizing that wide right foot step to help propel him back in the other direction for the one-footed fadeaway from 10 feet. Or he'll use the fake spin move with the ball floating to make his defender think he wants to turn over his left shoulder and fade, add one more dribble and shoulder shutter into the chest, before then pushing off that right foot into the midi fade. But I saved the best for last, his step-through game. And I want you to notice one interesting thing. He almost exclusively uses his left foot as the pivot, so it's his right foot that steps through before jumping into the shot. One reason why he might not rack up a lot of assists is because he'll get surrounded on drives like this, and rather than kick out to the multiple non-shooters out there, he'll use post-up footwork to step through, split defenders, and float tough shots in the basket. He's so good with the step through because of his jump stop game. Defenders can't help but jump, thinking they're contesting a step back, and he simply drives that right foot by them, uses his body to shield the ball, and puts it in with the left. If you think about it, most lefties probably like their right foot being the pivot after a jump stop. But if that's the case, it leaves them with their left foot stepping through, and they have to then either shoot it with their weaker right hand or a slightly awkward left foot leaning left hand shooting attempt. Instead, Brunson uses his right foot on all of these, and it allows him to finish in a more coordinated way, while also having his right shoulder be that battering ram to ward defenders off of him, something vital considering his smaller stature. There's a coaching thrill to a step-through like no other move can give you, because it's the perfect mix of footwork and cleverness, avoiding the kind of bully ball that bigger players try to employ. Coaches prefer the subtle art of craftiness to fool a defender out of his shoes, and Brunson is the absolute best in the game at this, and he continues to show how players his size can be effective amongst the big boys, and all it takes is supreme dedication to the kind of fundamentals that were developed during World War II, footwork that his old man mastered when playing under legendary John Chaney at Temple University. But what Chaney didn't envision is a way to incorporate the supreme ball handling skills of today's game, combine that with a drive to the basket, and then add on a post-up for the score. And we've entered a new phase of the game. It's only a question of how long will it take to catch on. And if Jalen Brunson continues to do damage like this, the answer is pretty darn soon.